Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And on this episode, we're going to talk about a team that was hyped before the season. That would be the New York Football Jets as they host a team that was probably What's going on, man?
What's up, man? Thanks for having me.
Can you hear me, Jamal?
I hear you now. You were breaking up a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what is going on crazy with this internet, but it's, it wants to, act up at the wrong times. But, I wanted to bring you on, of course, from Bill Roden on Sports Podcast, or Bros Podcast, as some like to call it. But yeah, man, definitely a pleasure to have you on again. Of course, probably wish it was under better circumstances with the New York Football Jets, but that's we're gonna get into that and more on this episode. But of course, I want to talk about my sponsor, which one of my sponsors is Manscaped. Manscaped.com. You can go to manscaped.com and buy a few things. You got something for Christmas, you want to get somebody or whatever, or get something just for yourself to treat yourself. You can get 20% off manscaped.com plus free shipping with the promo code AFC South. The promo code again is AFC South, 20% off plus free shipping. Give yourself a Christmas gift, give somebody else a Christmas gift. There you go, manscaped.com. Now, we're going to get into the New York Jets, like I mentioned, but there's always the get off your chest segment that goes with every episode. And on this episode, I want you all to hear something. And if you're watching, just pay attention to something that caught my eye. I'm just going to let you hear it. It's from the NFL Network, and it's Mr. David Carr.
This team, you have to have a serious conversation if you're Philly, and you have to really say, is it better for us to play Marcus Mariota right now and let Jalen get fully healthy? Because I would argue that it does not matter if you're the number one seed. Because if the 49ers come into Philly again, they do not care. They do not care. If raining in Philly, doesn't matter. But irrelevant.
You're the coach. You're Nick Sirianni. You go up to Jalen Hurts. He's like, dude, I can play, coach. Conversation. I can play. How are you going to tell me after I just got paid, we do all this stuff, I'm in the MVP runner. We just had a board up there reading his MVP odds, and now you're going to telling me to sit.
Big picture, brother. Like, you have to do. Like, if you're Nick Sirianni, this is the type of decision and conversation you have to have if you have a big picture mentality. And I think you can have that conversation, honestly, with Jalen. And if you set him down, that's all Jalen talks about is the end result and getting to the Super Bowl and winning that thing. The best way we can do it, they didn't run the football at all with him. Twice? That's not it, man. That's not the winning edge. Put Marcus in there, win a couple games. Yeah. Maybe you have the number one seed still. You might have it. I'd say he's probably better at playing quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. Right now, he would be more productive.
Hey, I ain't say that.
I had to leave that freeze frame up there just to y'all could get the max effect of Michael Robinson's reaction when he heard that foolishness coming out of Mr. David Carr's mouth. Now, for those that don't remember Mr. David Carr, he was the number one draft pick for the Houston Texans, and he didn't necessarily do very well as the number one quarterback. Most would say he probably was shell-shocked from all the hits that he took. And this may be a direct reflection of that. Because to say, I get one part of it, talking about, sit him down and kind of rest his injuries, things like that. But he said Marcus Mariota may be a better quarterback for this team. Need I remind everyone what Marcus Mariota did last year? I'm just going to show people, for those that are watching.
And down goes Mariota, just getting a small piece. Meanwhile, the ball is out, but are they going to call this now? No, they're stopping the play. They're stopping the play. Crowd is in an uproar.
Can't figure out what Mariota is doing tonight with some of these decisions. Lavu blitzed, trips him up there, and the body is down, obviously.
Yep.
And then he just throws it without really having any idea where it might go. he just decides to put the ball in the air. Thankfully, he's ruled down.
You heard Kirk Herbstreit talking about this man's throw. Did you see that? That was a 360 roll on the ground, throw up a prayer. But yet David Carr thinks this man should be the starting quarterback over Jalen Hurts. He also went on to say about he doesn't know if Jalen Hurts can read a defense. Now, I don't know what you heard and things that I've heard, but I've often heard this say about quarterbacks like Lamar Jackson, like a Dak Prescott. There's plenty of others I can name, but you know what they all have in common. David Carr, I know you played football for a while. I know you took a lot of hits, but sir, you know, if you're going to comment like that about Jalen Hurts, an MVP candidate at that, I think it might be time to retire from broadcasting and things like that, because that was uncalled for. Marcus Mariota. Do I need to show the film again? Do people need to see that? I don't know if they want to see that. But anyway, David Carr. Jalen Hurts is the quarterback of that team. He will be the quarterback of that team. And Marcus Mariota is not the guy. He's shown that in Tennessee. He's shown that in Atlanta. Atlanta, he got pulled from being the starting quarterback, and he left the team. So this is the guy you want to invest to be your starting quarterback. Now, I'm not trying to make this all about Marcus Mariota, but I'm just saying, David Carr, that was mighty disrespectful to say that to Jalen Hurts. Now, Jamal, do you have anything you want to add to that?
No, I mean, it's, I saw that headline. That's the first time I had seen the clip. So thank you for showing that to me. It's even worse than just reading it. I mean, if he obviously has not been watching football. If you're going to say Marcus Mariota should be playing it, even a hurt Jalen Hurts is better than Marcus Mariota. I wish the Eagles had a better backup quarterback, because maybe he would have an argument, because Hurts obviously isn't 100%. But to say that, about Marcus Mariota, and then I didn't even know that he said anything about reading a defense. That's just ridiculous. And I might never pay attention to anything Derek Carr has to say ever again in my life. Well, yeah,
Derek Carr and David Carr either. Both of them. Yeah, they both Carrs, and they both not winning. So, no, hey, it is what it is. To me, that's just mighty, mighty disrespectful. But, of course, we got to transition to a team, and Luck was mighty disrespectful to them, and that was the New York Football Jets. 4 plays into the game. And Aaron Rodgers pops his Achilles. Wow, just go from a big high to a low. I mean, can you kind of describe the emotional, swing amongst maybe some New Yorkers that maybe believe the Jets might have a team to do something this year?
Yeah, it was a very sad state of events. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was there. I was at the game. Actually, I was running late. Showed up to the game. I get into the press box, and I think it was like maybe the second play. I get there, the second play. He's running for his life. I think it was like the first or second play of the game. First pass call. He's run. I'm looking at the TV as soon as I get in the press box, and I see him running for his life, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to go well. Then a couple plays later, he goes down. And remember, people didn't know at first what it was, but I've torn 2 Achilles. I've torn Achilles in both my right and my left foot. So I can kind of see the signs, the way people go down, that kind of thing. And I was like, that doesn't look good. So it was just it was very Jets. It was very Jetsian, the way the whole thing went down. I mean, I ranted about it when it happened. It's just like, the whole off season, the hype, the HBO, Hard Knocks, Joe Namath is back. All this, it was just all this hype. And then for the third, fourth play of the game, I can't remember, for it to be all over. I mean, it was just, and then you have Zach Wilson, who we know, who's the backup. We knew that going into the season, but we didn't think he would have to play. He didn't think he would have to play, I'm sure. And just for him, for the season he had the year before, where the team, lost all confidence in him. He did a terrible job on the field and off the field. with the Jets, for him to be pushed back into playing and taking that role. I mean, it was just a disaster. And like I said, it was just like, it's the Jets, man. And I grew up sort of a Jets fan, so I've seen this my whole life, and it's just I hate to admit it. Like I don't even like when people say, "Oh, it's the Jets," that's just what they do. They're terrible. But now, after something like that happens, that's all you can say. Like, it's the Jets, man.
Oh boy. Now, of course, from this came the quarterback carousel. Now you had Zach Wilson, then you had Tim Boyle for a game and a half. Then you had Trevor Siemian come in, be the starter, and now, or Trevor Siemian come in and play, I should say. Now you're going back to or asking Zach Wilson to come back in the game. Now, of course, it was mentioned out there that he had some trepidation. Did he really want to do it or not? Well, you are kind of getting paid by the organization, so you kind of might want to do that. But to me, just looking at it, with this team, I totally get the talk about the quarterback play, but I don't think any quarterback is going to succeed behind that offensive line. And this quarterback carousel, I think, kind of gets it's kind of like when the quarterback gets all the attention when things go well, he gets it when all it goes bad too, and it kind of skips over the little things like the offensive line has been bad as well. I mean, am I completely off there by thinking more blame should be on the offensive line as just as much as the quarterbacks?
Yeah, no, I think you said it right in terms of just as much. I wouldn't take blame away from the quarterback play.
Oh no,
because
definitely not.
It's been horrible, but you're right, and I just talked about it. When before Aaron Rodgers even got injured, and you could say part of the reason he got injured is because there was no offensive line. He was running around for his life the first couple plays, and then he gets sacked, goes down. He's a 39-year-old quarterback at the time. What do you expect? We kind of knew. I kind of felt like that was the one fear I had all along. I didn't think he would go out with Achilles the first game, but I figured he was going to get hurt at some point behind that offensive line, being an older quarterback. But yeah, so you can definitely attribute a lot of that blame to the offensive line and to the organization for not, putting guys in that position that can get it done, and to the organization for not signing a solid backup when you have a 39-year-old quarterback who's going to be more susceptible to injury. But, getting back to the carousel, even after Aaron Rodgers goes down, okay, we know, like I said, we know Zach Wilson has problems, but he's still a young quarterback. We know he has arm talent, as people like to say. So he has some talent there. I think he's shown enough that we know he's not going to be, a good, a solid starter probably in the league. We've seen enough. But I'll tell you this: we knew he was better than Tim Boyle. You know what I'm saying? We knew he was better than Siemian probably. So I don't understand what Saleh was doing there. And when he sat Zach Wilson for Boyle. I mean, there's no way Boyle was going to get the job done if Zach Wilson couldn't get it done. So so it's almost like I feel like he kind of succumbed to the pressure of the media who, wanted to bash Zach Wilson. Maybe the team didn't have confidence in him. You saw Garrett Wilson every time there's an incomplete pass, he's just looking so frustrated and mad
Right.
at Zach Wilson. But it's not, but we all know that Boyle wasn't better. So I don't understand why you sit Zach Wilson in the first place for somebody for an alternative that you knew wasn't going to work. So now you have to run back to him because you have nothing else. And of course he has trepidation. He probably had trepidation about playing when Aaron Rodgers went down. So
Right.
imagine now he's failed in the meantime, and I know Saleh took a lot of flack for trying to, have Zach Wilson's back for weeks and weeks and say, he's getting better. And, honestly, he was, it's just, he started from such a low position. It wasn't saying much, but, he could make a throw here and there. He had, he has a strong arm. He could throw it deep. So, it's just a disaster. And, now after his confidence is gone, I can't, I have no kind of expectations for Zach Wilson, but he can't be any worse than what we've seen the past couple of weeks.
Well, I'll tell you what, two songs come to mind when it comes to, Zach Wilson in the quarterback room. the first song when they took him, when they started playing, I'm sorry, started from the bottom. Now we hear, Drake came into mind because he could only go anywhere but up. And then another song, it's an old school song, Glenn Jones, I've Been Searching. And it seemed like that Robert Salah was playing, I've been searching every time he looked at another quarterback. I'm searching, maybe you. But kind of took place. To me, I think what they should have done in this case is just take all the reins off of him, let him play. If he makes mistakes, I think he would have probably came out better instead of you trying to kind of coddle him and run these different things. I think he may have came out better. But, it is what it is at this point, and it is past that time. But it isn't past for this time for this defense to actually continue to play and ball out. I kind of feel sad for C.J. Mosley. He used to be a Baltimore Raven. Now he's with the Jets, and he's playing good football, but he's not playing good football and winning football at the same time. And they do have a defense. Sauce Gardner there, Reed at the other corner. They have a lot of pieces and players. Quincy Williams. I mean, but how would you feel if you're that defense and you're out there, playing great ball, giving your offense a chance or giving your team a chance to win, but every week that the offense potentially does not have what it needs to make it happen and win ball games?
Yeah, I mean, you feel terrible, and it's the second year in a row, at least, that this has happened. But it's no surprise anymore. I mean, they've known this. They had to know. They knew as soon as Aaron Rodgers went down this year. That was the first question people had in the locker room. It was like, oh, I mean, now what is it going to be? What kind of confidence do you have? And they all tried to say the right thing. Say they had confidence in Zach Wilson, but you knew they didn't. They were there last year. They saw what happened. So and you can tell now that they never really believed in him, and who did? To be honest, after what we saw the previous season. So it's sad, but they get paid. They're professionals, and like you said, they still have. It's not like they've fallen off. They still play tough D. They're still a top 10 defense. Even you would think, after weeks and weeks of your offense not producing, that sooner or later you lose hope and your play starts to fall off. And that's happened a little bit because I think they could probably be a top 5 defense if they had an offense, if they truly believed. But there's, they still stayed tough, top 10 defense. I think they're third against the pass, which is interesting coming into this game, and we'll get into it against Houston. So they still are a tough defense, but they know that there's no margin for error, and that's got to weigh on you.
Right. Musical reference again. I do like music. If I wasn't talking sports all the time, I'd probably talk music. The first thing that comes to mind is, the Rocky IV soundtrack, No Easy Way Out. There's definitely no easy way out for this defense. They're doing the best they can, but they can't find the easy way out to a win in terms of doing everything on the field. And I do feel bad for them because I do love a good defensive team. Or there's got to be some offense that has got to be sprinkled in there just a little bit. We're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little Jets versus the Houston Texans on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.
A shift. A shift is something that happens and changes the dynamics. And that's what happened when Garrett Logistics was born. After 10 years as a sales pro in the logistics world of sporting goods, John Garrett decided to pivot to the world of freight and start a brokerage. So you're saying to yourself, why trust Garrett Logistics? Well, Garrett Logistics helps shippers improve overall workflow, along with increased on-time pickup and delivery percentages. Last-minute loads, multi-drop pickups, and more are part of the services with Garrett Logistics. They're available Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., all times Central Standard Time. So give them a ring at 615-400-8484. That's 615-400-8484, or you can email them at john@garrettlogistics.co or visit their website at garrettlogistics.co. Garrett Logistics, where the motto is, it's not just freight to us, it's your business.
All right, and we are back on Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton, and before we left to go to break, we got to talk about the matchup. The New York Football Jets and the Houston Texans. Now, before the season, you looked at this game and you thought, well, the Jets might be playing well. The Jets would be playing well at this point with Aaron Rodgers leading them. And the Houston Texans, they might be playing well with C.J. Stroud at this time, maybe trying to find his stride. Well, it's kind of reversed. The Jets are kind of still trying to find out their identity offensively and, of course, work through some issues offensively. And the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud, that man is on a mission. And he definitely is playing some good football and is the leader in the clubhouse, in my opinion, for Offensive Rookie of the Year in the NFL. Now, getting into that, of course, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions for the season so far. And, of course, he had 3 interceptions in the game against Arizona pretty recently. But, that's kind of an anomaly for him this year. How impressed have you been about just watching C.J. Stroud this year and what he's been able to do?
Oh, very, 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 very impressed. And I liked him, coming out of college, especially after that game against Georgia. He showed what he had. I thought he could have went number 1. I would have had no problem with that, even though I like Bryce Young at the time also. But I mean, even if you had high expectations for a rookie quarterback to play well, 20 interceptions, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, and just the poise that he's shown, and then they're winning. Also, nobody expected them to win. I'll tell you that much, or be in the playoff hunt. That was not an expectation with a rookie quarterback. So I think there's no way you can't be impressed by that. And, I'm trying to think of a rookie quarterback that has been as impressive in the past decade or so, and I can't really. Maybe you can think of one. But, he's just been so poised, so accurate, short and deep balls. Great leader, says all the right things. He really looks like the real deal. I don't know. I can't think of any faults.
Well, the one quarterback I can't think of, even though he wasn't necessarily the star of that team, is Ben Roethlisberger. He was pretty solid as a rookie. But,
very solid.
Other than that, it's a lot of rookies that try to step in there and try to lead a team. But I don't think I've ever heard of a guy like him just being up front and being basically, a leader. He definitely fits the bill with what he says, what he does on the field, and how he carries himself also. So, it's definitely great to see. And I didn't know he had that type of leadership ability off top. Right. I thought it would develop. Right. But, I definitely like the leadership ability that he's shown. I did say going into this draft, though, he was the most talented quarterback of all the quarterbacks. I definitely thought that was going to happen, but I just didn't expect to see it, matriculate or show on the field so soon. Now, he is going against the top defense in the Jets. Mm-hmm. We do have to talk about that. And the Jets can bring a few things towards him. So what do you kind of expect the Jets to do to kind of maybe throw him off his game this week?
They're going to just do what they do. They're going to play tough defense. They're going to, they'll bring some pressure. They got the corners who can play man to man, especially with Stroud not having one of his best wide receivers in Tank Dell, the other rookie. That could be an issue. So I expect them. I don't expect him to have a great game on Sunday. So, I think I think the Jets will make it ugly. The weather probably won't be that great in New York. It'll be a little cold out there, and they're going to put some pressure on them, and they're going to, and the secondary is going to be tough. So I think the Jets will probably keep it close, especially for the first 3 quarters. But I'll tell you what, he's a better quarterback than what the Jets will have on the other side. I'll tell you that much. So I think when it's all said and done, he'll figure out a way, to get points on the board more than the Jets will.
I hear you there. Now, it's going to be definitely interesting just to see how many times Quentin Williams is able to get to him. Now, you mentioned Tank Dell is out, but there is a guy named Nico Collins on the other side, and that guy has definitely. It's amazing. He couldn't get over 500 yards receiving the first couple of years he's in the NFL. Now he's on pace for over 1,000 yards receiving, which is pretty amazing. They would have had if Tank Dell, of course, he did get injured, and definitely prayers going out to him. a speedy recovery. If he wouldn't have got injured, then the Texans would have probably had 2 1,000-yard receivers. I don't think anybody had that on their bingo card before they started. So
it's all about quarterback. If you have a good quarterback, those wide receivers look a lot better always.
That's true. That's true. A good quarterback will definitely make you look good. Now, a good quarterback, we're good. We can't say that Zach Wilson is a good quarterback. We can say he tries, but he's gonna be back in there again. Right. And he's in there against a Houston Texans defense. Now, this defense is not comprised of the all-stars that DeMeco Ryans was coaching with the 49ers. However, he does have a couple veterans, and he does have a guy in Jimmy Ward that knows his system playing the safety position. He does have Jalen Petrie out there as well. He does have Derek Stingley Jr. at one corner and Steven Nelson at the other. And he also has a guy named Jonathan Grenard, which nobody really talks about him, but he leads the Houston Texans in sacks. Not necessarily the guy that everyone thinks of, when you think of that. So with that being said, and this Jets offensive line, how much trouble do you think Zach Wilson may be in Sunday in terms of running for his life back there?
Well, if you watch the Jets, Zach Wilson is always in trouble. All right. And Houston, they're not known for their defense, but they've been solid. You're not in a playoff hunt without a solid defense, and they have that. And they're playing against, as we said, an inept offense. So I think they'll cause enough havoc for the Jets to, I'm sure they'll turn Zach Wilson over a couple times. So yeah, I don't have any, I don't think Houston's defense will be an issue in this game because of who they're playing against. I think, it's just going to take for Houston to be able to put, a couple scores on the board.
Now, let's just say the Jets do get something going offensively. Who would be the person to spearhead that, in your opinion?
Well, that's another issue about this week, because if that were to happen, I would think it would be Breece Hall, but he's questionable. I don't think he practiced yesterday. I'm not sure about today. So they're probably missing their best offensive option. You could say Garrett Wilson, but he's dependent on the quarterback, and we know how that goes. I would assume that they're going to try to get the ball in Garrett Wilson's hands as they usually do with some short passes, but I'm sure Houston and DeMeco will be ready for that. So I would say Breece Hall. Enough Breece Hall doesn't play, then you got, and it's an ankle I think he's dealing with. If Breece Hall doesn't play, then it's Cook.
So the cook has been serving up undercooked food this year.
Undercooked food, they're paying him $7 million, but it hasn't really. He hasn't really given him a return on it, but he hasn't really had the opportunity because Breece Hall's been the better back. So, but it's just, it's like I said, as a guy who grew up kind of a Jets fan, this is really depressing. You're depressing me just asking me these questions about the Jets and what they're capable of doing. They're not isn't that? I mean, I've been sitting there watching the Jets all season, and you just know what's going to happen. Even if they have, they might get lucky and have one successful drive, but don't expect them to follow up on that.
Oh man, I might call this episode the Jets therapy session. I might call it that. But
yeah, seriously, it's come on.
But I do have a couple other questions for you, and then I guess we'll call it an end of the therapy session for the Jets this episode. But the Jets win this game if they do what offensively?
Offensively, if Zach Wilson figures out a way not to turn the ball over, if he throws for about 180, 180, 200 yards, doesn't turn the ball over, gets the ball in Garrett Wilson's hands about, get him like 6-7 catches for almost 100 yards, and Breece Hall plays and breaks one or two, because he's capable of that. Even either if you hand it off to him or a screen pass or something like that, he can break a long one. So they would need him to do that once or twice. And I think then they'd have a chance for the upset because their defense will show up.
Okay, and defensively, the Jets win this game if they do what?
They got to limit Stroud to, no more than really one touchdown pass, and keep him under you got to keep him under 250 for sure. Turn him over a couple times, have him throw a couple interceptions, get pressure on him. And this is all possible, on both sides of the ball. Well, more so on the defensive side of the ball. It's possible. Like I said in the beginning, I do think they will play tough defense, and Stroud will struggle a bit. I don't think he's going to go out there and light it up on Sunday. So if the defense does what they do and force them to try to run the ball, which has not been a strong suit for Houston this year, then they will have done their job. And I expect them to have a good showing. But you got to go back to the offense. It could, I could see them if they hold Houston to under 20 points, hold them about 17 points. I think it'll be a close game, but I'm not sure the Jets will be able to, to seal the deal.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch in one way or another. Definitely. I guess it's time for you to get off the couch now. But what we can do though to finish off this episode is a game. We always have a game at the end of the show. It's 5 questions, 2 answers, and 1 choice. Jamal, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. First question: Madison Square Garden or Yankee Stadium? Which one is more historic to New York City?
Wow.
In your opinion?
More historic. Wow. That's a tough one. That's a really tough one. I want to say that the Yankee Stadium might be more historic because it's older. It's been around longer. You're talking about like Babe Ruth, stuff like that. Madison Square Garden is more my favorite, but also very historic. I mean, the world's most famous arena. But I'll say Yankee Stadium if I have to choose.
All right. Now, a lot of people don't know this, but there's actually a theater up under the actual playing, court as well. If you've been there, you know this. But if you haven't, you don't know any of that stuff. But yeah, was there on Christmas the day John Wall and Quincy Acey got into a fight on the court. I was there covering the game. Man, that was fun. Now we're going to go into music. We got 2 songs. You got to pick one. They're definitely well known in New York. Both of these songs are. You got DMX, Rough Riders Anthem, or you got Ja Rule, New York. Which song are you taking?
Oh, Rough Riders Anthem, no question about that. Come on, man. It's not even close. That's not even close to me. And I'm not trying to completely diss Ja Rule. But that DMX Rough Rider Anthem, that was an absolute classic in the heart of the golden age of hip hop, in my opinion.
Yeah, definitely. I was listening to that song every day down here in Nashville, Tennessee. Every day. Love that song. Now, the only reason I threw the New York song is Lord knows everybody from New York was probably yelling that song somewhere. And they was repping that song. That's probably the most times Ja got back on top since like the days that 50 just dropped his album on him.
Yeah, he tried to come up with the layup. He knew he needed a hit at that time, so he threw the New York thing on, and it was hard to diss it if you were a New Yorker. So
yeah, that's true. That's true. All right, we got media food, Madison Square Garden or Barclays Center. Which one has the better media food to you?
That's not even close either. It's Barclays Center. Barclays, they do it up, man. You go there, you feel like you just went to like a restaurant or something, nice little buffet. Madison Square Garden, nah, bro. They cheap out when it comes to the food to the press, man. It's not you might. Yeah. I think you should go eat something before you go to Madison Square Garden. That's my in terms of the media food, because they do have nice, the vendors and stuff like that. They got some of the best choices in the league, in any sport. I was just there for the UConn North Carolina game a couple of days ago, and I had some nice ribs from there, like some actual good ribs. So imagine that. But Yeah. So, but no, in terms of what they provide to the media, it's not even close. Barclays Center.
Now, I will say this: I've had both, and yes, Barclays Center is the clear winner in this one. Now, I will say, Madison Square Garden did have some good chocolate chip cookies. I give them that.
Okay.
But other than that, nah, Barclays is winning by a long shot. Long shot. And you had plenty of different choices.
Yeah.
You could have got and I went during the Christmas time, so they had the gingerbread cookies and all that stuff. I was like, man, this is great. I mean, can we just can I just take some of this to go? You know,
Madison Square Garden, they have the same thing they've had every game. Every time you go there, they got the same exact thing they've had for the past 10, 15 years, no question. Barclays, they got themes, you know, it's Chinese food theme or the Mexican food, or we got this, you know, Barclays ain't playing, I'm telling you.
Right. Hey, I'm always down to go to Barclays. Let's see. The next question, the last question, you're probably going to be like, why did you just put me back on the couch again? But you had to pick a quarterback outside of Zach Wilson to start of the other two quarterbacks that have played. Are you going to go Tim Boyle or Trevor Siemian?
We'll go Trevor Siemian. You know, at least I've seen him on other teams. You know, he has some experience. I mean, I saw Boyle in preseason. I knew this dude. I was wondering why he's even on the team. I hate to say it, but just to be honest, that's what I was wondering back then in preseason. And then the fact, you know, so yeah, you put me back on the couch, man. I can't. With this.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's a rough one, I know. But hey, 5 questions, 2 answers, 1 choice. It's all over. The show we have reached the end. Jamal, I want to thank you for coming on. I didn't mention, of course, you do freelance journalism as well. Did not mention that. My apologies there. I want to thank you for coming on. Please tell everyone where they can find you on social media, and also tell everyone where they can, what all things you're working on as well.
Social media. I finally got back on Twitter at Blackatologist. I had been hacked. It took like months and months and months to get back on.
Wow.
Finally back on there. So check me out. Instagram at JMurphesque, JMurphesQ. Also at Blackatologist on Instagram if you want some college basketball news and opinions. Where you can find me, Bros Pod with Bill Roden, with the legendary Bill Roden, talking sports from a social angle. I just did my black quarterback ratings. Stroud, I think I had Stroud 6 overall this year.
Okay, we got to get to. Okay, all right.
It's pretty good for a rookie. You know what I'm saying? Compared to Bryce Young, who was like 12. So out of 12,
yeah.
out of 12.
Yeah, I was gonna say he got to be 12 out of 12, man.
But so check out Bill Roden Sports Bros Pod. Also Anscape, do a lot of college basketball writing for them. Just wrote something on Ed Cooley taking over at Georgetown. So check that out. Got some more stuff coming. And thank you for having me on. I appreciate the support.
Yes, sir. Always, man. And of course, if you don't know me, I am the host of Touring the AFC South. My name is Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can find me on there at Mike Patton 82. That's MikePatton 82 on Twitter. You can, of course, find me on Instagram and Threads as that's THA, not THE, _general_MP. And of course, you can find Touring the AFC South on YouTube. You can also find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts. Let's see what iHeartRadio, Amazon Music. Yeah, you name it, we are there. I want to thank you all for tuning in. Yep, that's right. I'm everywhere. They're never there. But I know we're not gonna go there. But let's see. I just want to thank everyone for tuning in to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton. We're out. Peace.